All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of 815 LSx Talk. This is episode number 4, and today we have our very first guest on the podcast. We have Mike from Narxoleptic Customs. For those of you that might not know, Mike is one of the first guys that I met when I started my social media journey. So I actually found his podcast while looking at Rocky Mountain Race Week coverage, started listening to a bunch of his podcasts, eventually reached out, asked him some questions, and honestly, he's been extremely helpful ever since that day, always willing to give me a hand, give me advice, and we probably talk at least maybe a couple times a week now. So very appreciative of him for helping and getting us really rolling to where we are today. So let's go ahead and bring him in now.
So we'll go ahead and get started. So for those who are listening that might not know who Mike is from Narxoleptic Customs, why don't you go ahead and tell them a little bit about what you guys do and what they can find on your social media?
Yeah, dude. So we LS swap a ton of stuff. We're branching out from that. As people can see that are watching on your YouTube channel, we have built a cart that now has a turbo that's right here, and have done some Rocky Mountain Race Weeks in it and some drag and drive events, overnight stuff in it. It's just a dumb car that's fun, and built it to give away on our channel. So to be entered to win, just follow us on Instagram. Everything is under Narxoleptic Customs. And then really everything else we do, whatever we think is fun. I have a shop in my backyard that's a 30 by 40. My little brother just built a 40 by 40 in his yard. Probably don't need to say this out loud, but he's fixing to go full time, and Narxoleptic Customs will finally be what we have envisioned it for the 8 years we've been in business. Let me get in here with air quotes. We've been a company for a long time, but we've always turned to just enough money to build our car or buy more parts or go on the trips, things like that. So we'll move all of our build stuff to his shop, which is 20 miles from me. And then all of our personal fun cars, all that kind of stuff will kind of be centered in my shop. So I'll get back to, I've built a first gen C10 truck, a 66 GMC that we call Stanley, which is a turbo LS, makes 500 wheel. I built it all, me and Steven, my little brother, built every piece of it. The turbo kit, installed the engine, put the trans in, we didn't cut down the drive shaft, but have done everything else. So you painted the interior, did the seat with our dad, all that kind of stuff. So everything that's done on that truck, we touch. And that's really why we started the shop. I have a hard time paying folks. If I feel like I can do it, it'll obviously take me a lot longer than it will to pay someone that's doing it full time. But my brain, I have to figure it out before I'm going to pay somebody to do it. So there's a good example is the wiring harness on the old truck. I've used LT1swap.com and cut down the factory harness, and it ran and drove great for 1,500 miles. When we put the turbo kit together, I wanted something a little nicer. And so we reached out to our friends at SNS Performance and ordered a harness from them. Same exact harness setup for what wasn't like we were doing anything special. I just wanted it to look a lot better, and I didn't have the time or desire to mess with it. So I had to see that I could do it, and then pay somebody to actually do one nice.
Yeah, sounds kind of like what we did with the Fox body. So I did the same thing, LT1 swap, cut it down, used only the stuff I needed, did the first year with that, and then switched over this year to the Terminator X.
Yeah, yep. So that's we have been discussing our next project, and we're going to do an X Max, and just probably definitely be another LS, and probably 4L80 and turbo setup. So we'll go with that. Just one to save the time. That's now that I've done it and know I can, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. And it takes a ton of time. I think I had 10 hours in the harness, making it look at least presentable, and it wasn't even very nice. So
yeah. So with the Terminator X, it's so easy. I was blown away with how easy it was to hook up. It asks you some startup questions, and it fired up and actually ran better than it did with my harness.
Yep. Yep. It's funny. LS stuff is so, and probably other, products too. They're so ground sensitive now that, these older cars, like the old truck, I had to physically clean a spot on the frame, clean a spot on the block that had 220,000 miles on it, make sure everything was good, and then tie as much to that as I could. So same stuff.
So that harness is actually, now Dan took it and then reworked it again, which made it look a lot nicer, but we're using it on the El Camino now.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great video too. You guys have. I've made it to a few minutes of that. I'm excited to get it finished tonight.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. We're done with the motor now. It's ready to be dropped in. We're gonna try to take it to Byron and get a pass on it with just the motor, and then pull it out and then put the LS in.
Nice. That'll be cool. All right. So, I mean, that kind of sums up our stuff. I daily drive a 93 Tercel so I can have fun, cool cars. I drove the cart today, which was, it was not supposed to rain at all. And 1 o'clock, it torrentially downpoured. So I rode home on a garbage bag. So that's the detriments of death carts.
That was the last 2 days here too. Yesterday, 10% chance, and it poured.
Yep. Yeah, it's brutal.
Cool. So I got some questions here. Let's start with the first one. What got you into cars in the first place?
Man, it's funny. My dad always had he never had anything really cool when we were kids. It was always just, he had different stuff, and always added pinstripes, always, did whatever, was always painting something we had a shop at the house then we were kids, and he would paint it and paint whatever, bumpers, or we had a boat for a long time, and I remember him pinstriping it all the time. And so a little bit of that I'll blame on him. A lot of it I will blame on my mom. She would let my brother and I buy a Hot Wheel each whenever we went to the store, right? So, they say guys' most expensive hobby starts with a 97-cent Hot Wheel. And that was really true. We never gravitated towards like the crazy cars. We always looked for like what would be a legit car that would be wild or whatever in the Hot Wheels, setup. So that, and then model cars, my grandmother and dad would buy me any model car I ever wanted, and I put tons and tons and tons of those together. So
that's awesome. Yeah. The Hot Wheels and the models, really. That's like the first thing that we start out with.
Yep. Well, the cool thing about model cars, thinking about it now that I'm 40, is the understanding you have of like what really goes into a car. Like, you understand frame and the suspension pieces, and as you get older, and before I started driving, I would put them together all the time. From probably the time I was 10 to about 15, that was all I did. If I was home, I was putting model cars together. And so you get to understanding like, oh man, if I paint it with this process, it does, it looks really cool, so you just learn all that stuff. And then of course you start working and getting money and start driving. You're like, I need real car stuff now. So
right. So on that, what was your first car that you had?
So my first car was Stanley, the old truck. So I've had it now. My grandfather gave it to me when I was 15. Obviously I didn't drive it until I was 16 because we were putting it back together. I worked 2 summers. I put a windshield in it. I put tires on it. I put exhaust on it. We got it running good. We literally spray can bombed it out in the field behind the house. So I was 15. That was 96. So I've had it 25 years as of this summer. And then I drove it for a year, and then my grandfather bought it back. So I could have some money to buy another car. And I bought a stepside Chevrolet truck and then sold it. I worked at a grocery store, and a guy come in one day, and I was out messing with it, like on break, and a guy come in and had to have it. And so I sold it to him and made money on it. And I was like, wow, that was pretty easy. I'd had it for like 6 months or whatever. And then I bought a S10 2-door Blazer, like a 89 model, whatever the square, I think it's 88 or 89, little square body S10 Blazer, and we put a V8 in it. And so that was the end of it. After that, I was a car guy. There was no way around it, man.
That's awesome. That's usually how it starts. I know I got my first car when I was 13, and same thing, worked over the summer doing odd and end jobs just to get it put together. And same thing after that, it's all history.
Yep. When I turned 14, my my dad had always had motorcycles. So I turned 14, I got a 250 Honda Nighthawk or something like that. And I worked at a golf course. I was the range guy picking up the golf balls, and then mowed yards too. So it was a good 2 summers, and that's what paid to get the truck going. And, hell, I still have it. So, and it's one of those rigs that'll never go away. My kids will end up with it and probably hate it, but
yeah, it's one of those you just can't get rid of though.
Yeah, I mean, like my grandfather bought it in 67 and drove it every day until like 91 or 2. So it's been all over the country, and I intend to do that again. So
very cool.
Yep.
Do you have a car that you wish you wouldn't have sold?
Man, I had a convertible Fox body that I think would be fun now. Like it wasn't a very nice car, but it was all one color. Had Cobra R's on it. It looked good, and it ran well enough. I mean, it still had a high gear in it. It was like a 273 gear in it, but it had Flowmasters on it, and it sounded good. And I bought it and sold it in 3 months and made money, and thought that was what you did, So I should have probably kept that car and then put a cage in it and had like a roll bar and had some real fun with it. That would have been a cool car now. So
yeah,
my kids would probably like it a lot more than they like the old truck.
Yeah, but everybody's got Fox bodies now, so.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So on that, what was your least favorite car you've owned?
God, the Tercel. I hate it. I hate it. So I sold cars for a really long time. So for about 12 years of my adult life, I didn't own a car except for the old truck, and it was a project status. So I never really drove it much. So, you start thinking 20 years of being an adult, 12 of that, you don't own anything except, sometimes like the Fox body or something like that. That was fun. Yeah, the Tercel. I hate it. I broke the driver door handle, and a 93 Tercel driver door handle is like $50. I'm like, y'all. So for the last 2 weeks when it's rained, I drive that car back and forth to work. And so I have to climb in and out of the passenger side. Well, I have I'm an adult. I have like a real job at a real place. Like people drive nice stuff, and here I am climbing out of this little light blue 93 Tercel 2-door, and I'm the car guy of everybody that is at the office. Everybody knows me as guy that always has something different or fun or whatever. And here I am in this Tercel. So it's going away soon. I got to get the AC fixed on it. I'm selling it. So.
Yeah, but the thing is we will sacrifice driving not so nice daily to be able to put money into our toys.
Yeah, and 100%. So it came down to, did I want a shop with the payment, or did I want a nice car? And I mean, I chose a shop every single time, because like I live a mile from work. If I lived 30 miles from work, it'd be different, but I live a mile from work. So it's not, I could get a ride from a friend if I needed to, So I'm going to put wipers on the old truck and just drive it.
I think I would have made that choice 100% of the time as well.
Yeah. Shop over car payment all the time.
Yep. Do you have a dream car?
Ooh, yeah. So I have two. I have a car that I would leave stock. I have a car that I would probably modify a little bit, but we'll start with the modify a little bit car. 69 Chevelle SS, like a dark blue, white stripe, 15-inch Krager wheels, 4-speed big block car, black interior. That'd be a car I'd drive all the time. Right. And you can usually buy those, they're getting more expensive, but 80 would buy like a really, really nice one. And that's what I would want. Right. I don't want to build that car. I want it to be nice when I get it, and I want to do burnouts, and I want to slam gears. And then I have like a 67 to 69 or 71. I can't remember when the bumper changed. Jaguar XKE V12 convertible. So bright red camel interior. Yeah, that car. I don't know what it is, but man, makes my heart pitter patter.
So what's the chances of you owning one of those two in your lifetime?
The hard part about a car like the Jag that's 150,000 for a nice one, I would have to spend 150 on one to look at, Like that's a car that you're not taking that to Cars and Coffee. And you've spent time with me, I'm not the guy that's not going to cruise stuff, so I'd have to have a whole lot of money, a whole lot of money to get that car. The Chevelle, I mean, I'd sell a kidney, and cruise that around. But yeah, I mean, those cars would have to be something it'd be hard for me to part with even 50 and not build, 10 more of these cars. That's always my struggle. It's like, oh man, I can build, like I'm gonna, as a daily, I'm gonna end up buying like a 05 or 06 Yukon Denali. It's kind of my plan, 6-liter 2-wheel drive, and use it to tow if I ever needed to. And like you can buy that rig for $8,000 and put a blower on it, and 800 horsepower, and have 18,000 in that.
Yeah,
you can build 3 of those for what it costs to buy a Chevelle you're going to drive once a month.
Yeah, so that's fair.
Yeah, that's the difficult part for me.
Yeah.
But hey, one day when you're YouTube famous and podcast famous and you give me money, I'll spend it on cars. I promise.
I tell you what, if I get that Cletus money, I'll share with you. How about that?
I'm in. You're going to have to move down here, though. I'm not moving up there. It's too cold.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So this next question here, I think I already know the answer to, but the people listening might not know the answer. And I think this will talk quite a bit about, but what is your favorite automotive event?
Oh, dude, Rocky Mountain Race Week, 100%. So 2.0, now they do 2 race weeks a year. One is Rocky Mountain Race Week, and then 2.0, which is in September, is just race week. So it's like the Hot Rod Power Tour on steroids, except there's not 7,000 cars that are cruising with you. There's 300 or probably 400 that are cruising along everywhere. And it's just amazing. Sorry, did I lose you there?
No,
my computer like popped up with some alert. It's the best event. I make probably 3 passes a year at tracks, except on race week where I make 15 to 18. You know what I mean? So, and it's coming up here. We'll be racing right now in 1 month. So
very nice.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I figured that was what you were going to answer, and that's actually how I found you initially. Was coming across your Rocky Mountain Race Week content, and then found your podcast and found Destroyer, and then just kind of started talking to you guys from there. I was the new guy, and I was like, give me advice, anything.
Yep. What's really cool about the group of small automotive YouTubers that I think have rounded around each other, or gathered around each other in the last 6 months, I would say, is everybody is so helpful to everyone else. I think that's what's so great. Like we're all trying to find the answer, and what's funny is YouTube, there is no answer to YouTube or podcasts or anything like that, except maybe money and throwing money at stuff. I would rather spend money on car parts than promoting. The one cool thing about YouTube and podcasts and things like that is that, and social media for that matter, is that you will always have that, unless it's MySpace that goes away, you'll have that accessible for as long as it's available.
Yeah, and I've met so many people. I mean, we talk quite often. I'm getting messages from people all the time asking questions and just helping people. And the other day I had somebody locally message me about their Terminator X that they couldn't get going. Nice. And he ended up coming over and putting his Terminator on my car to see if it would start, to rule out that it wasn't his Terminator. So just being able to meet people and having just interactions with other car people that have the same interests has been so much fun.
Yep. I mean, think about like 20 years ago, or like 40 years ago, like to be able to do that, you had to have a group, and you were all local. Like dude, you live in Illinois, I live in Arkansas. Like we would have never met. Like we'd have met on some, I don't even know if surely they had some kind of, long distance drives back then, but there was nothing like Hot Rod Drag Week or anything like that that I can find, I guess. So
No,
maybe
it's just
somebody listening will correct me, but I mean, surely there were some overnight events, drag and drive stuff, but it wasn't anything like it is today, just because you have the reach of social media.
Yeah, and typically, I think then it was just your local ice cream, cruise night type thing. So it was still all local.
Yep. Yeah, and those guys had 13-second cars and were the fastest in town,
Right. And that's evolved a lot since then as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You don't have a 8-second car, you're not doing anything.
Right.
So it's wild. And that's what's cool about race week too, is like, these guys, it's not a let's get to the track and load it on a trailer and go to the next track and you're just cruising around making you're literally driving this car. Tom Bailey and all those guys, they've been 6 seconds, 7-second passes are commonplace on race week, and then they load the car back down with all the crap that they got to carry for the trip for the week, and they drive to the next track. It's not like there's a parts truck following us, like you have to carry what you're going to use,
Right.
So I think that's what's the coolest. And it's sad that the cart is so slow, because it's fun to watch drive, and we always are acting like idiots in it and things like that. But, you get it on the track and it's like, we're hoping for some low 13-second passes. Like that's boring to watch, but the burnout before it I'm going to get rowdy every single time. So
you do 8th mile burnout yet?
No, but so we crossed 300,000 video views on our YouTube channel. I think we did that Wednesday or something last week. So I have found a spot to do a 300-foot burnout to celebrate 300,000 views. So I'm excited. We do that Saturday morning. So
that's quite a number, 300,000.
Yeah. Hey, I hope. We'll see. There's some people that throw up a couple of videos and have 300,000 on a video, but we're not those dudes. We get 70 and 100.
So. Yeah. I just checked today, and in one day I went from, I think, 15,000 views to 35,000. I had one YouTube short that had like 20,000 views.
It's wild, man. It's wild. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I can take some of this content that we'll have from Saturday and just throw it everywhere, and maybe that'll help the channel, because we're giving the card away at 1 million views, and I would love to be able to give the card away after race week. I'm ready to build something else. The longer I have that car, the more I'm going to do to it, and that's dangerous. So I'm ready to move on to the next build. I'm going to end up blowing it up, and then I'm going to have to LS swap it and all that kind of stuff. So
I might have to fly down or drive down and do a collab with you when you do that.
Yeah. We're taking bigger springs for the wastegate for race week. And there's some guys that are good Ford tuners that'll be on race week. And so I'm hoping we can maybe see a 10-pound, get a 10-pound spring in it, and then maybe click a 12. I don't know. We'll see. 1280, I would be moving on. So,
yeah. So how many Rocky Mountain race weeks have you been on now?
Just the one.
Okay.
Just 2.0 last year. Jonathan Stonecipher, who I had on live feed the other night, he's been on 8. So him and I are big buddies. So like every time he comes back, he's like, I go over there and hang out, and he tells me all about how cool it is and all that stuff. And I had wanted to do it for a long time, but being that Rocky Mountain Race Week obviously stays in the Rocky Mountains, so for what is technically now 1.0, if you look on their website, it's like a 9-day trip for me. If I drive to Denver, let's say if they're starting in Denver, drive to Denver is a solid day at least, if not, because you wouldn't, I wouldn't drive the cart out and then race the next day. It'd just be too hard, So, right. So you'd want to drive out, say 2 days before. Well, now you're 10 days and you're trying to drive all the way home from Denver. If it starts in Denver, it ends in Denver, starts wherever, ends wherever. You got to drive all the way home the next day. So, 10 days away from the family is just too much. So
yeah, it's definitely a long time. It's definitely something I want to do, and my kids are getting older, and it's a bucket list item for sure. And it's definitely 1.0.
Yeah. 1.0 is the coolest looking photos I've seen, and you're getting to drive cool hot rods. You're around cool hot rods all day, for an entire week in the Rocky Mountains, so I've been to the Rockies a couple times in the wintertime, but never in the summer. So I definitely want to get out there and see all that stuff. So
Yeah, for sure.
but 2022, we are 1.0 is our plan. We're going to do 1.0, a family vacation, and then 2.0, and try and maybe mix in Midwest drags in there somewhere. So
Yeah, Midwest Drags, that was the one I was thinking about. If I get one of my cars, that's going to be the closest one to me right now. Drag week actually comes through Byron here this year, so I got the day off that. That's what, next month, I believe.
Yep. Drag week is the week before race week, so it'll be really interesting to see, because I think it ends on Friday, and then race week starts Sunday. So there's some guys there. I think there's like 3 guys left that will do Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0, Midwest Drags, Hot Rod Drag Week, and then Race Week. So they're trying to go for all 4.
That's pretty impressive.
Quadfecta, I guess. I don't know what you'd call that, but
a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, well, because the other side of that, so you got 4 weeks off of work, so
right, and then you
got a lot of those
hotels.
guys. Oh yeah, a lot of those guys own their own stuff, so it's not you got to build a business that's good enough to run without you.
Right. Right. Very cool.
Yep.
So with Rocky Mountain Race Week, that's where you've probably done most of your passes at.
Yep.
What is the fastest pass you've made, either ET wise or mile an hour wise?
Yeah. So in the cart on Race Week at Oklahoma City, which we're starting and ending for 2.0 next month, we ran a 14.8, Thunder Valley, always known for Oklahoma City guys. And so it ran throughout the week. Our best pass was a 15.240, I think. And we ran a 14.8. I think it was like 92 miles an hour or something like that. So, and that was pre-turbo, pre-nitrous, like we're going to give it the beans this time.
Is that the fastest pass you've ever made in any vehicle?
No, the truck's been 14.0. Like, what's so funny, at 98, which it had never been that fast, but that was with the turbo too. We forgot to turn the speed limiter off. So like I'm racing a guy that was just spraying 100 shot on like a gutted VR6 Volkswagen. And I had talked so much shit weeks leading up to it. And he beat me 2 times. And I was like, all right, so at that time the truck was open diff. So, I had to leave super easy because it just ramps in so hard. And so I would leave real easy and he'd get out on me like 3 or 4 cars and I'd run him down and I'd get close, right at the end. Well, this time I left a little harder and was ahead of him. And at like 1,250 feet, the truck just shuts off, loses all power. And he comes by me literally at the, like, if it just this right there. So he still has me beat 100, 3-0. So
that sounds like karma.
Oh yeah, I shouldn't have talked. Well, and he was talking shit too. And it was funny. We were having a good time with it, but like the truck should have been faster. I was really looking for like I don't know, low 12 is what the truck should have ran, but not being able to leave like I thought, and obviously falling on its face makes it a little more difficult. So we're fixing that. We've welded the diff now. It is, locker welded, whatever. It's both tires, and I bought some drag radials the other day, so we're gonna see what the truck can handle. So hoping be able to let it eat.
Is that the first time you've had it on radials then?
Yep. Yeah, it's never ever been on a sticky tire. It's literally built for burnouts. Like that's it. Burnouts and ice cream, man. I wanted it to be reliable so I could go anywhere in it and get ice cream with the family. And then, it'll do 40-mile-an-hour rolling burnouts all day. So
yeah, that sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was built for. And the reason we did that, my grandfather would have been into that. He would have enjoyed that. He was never really a big drag race guy. So, burnouts would have been cool to him, So.
Yeah. And you had the diff welded before, right? But it just recently broke.
Yeah. The one time I let my wife drive it.
Of course.
So yeah, well, and it was a slight chance of rain in the middle of the day. And I was like, I had her car because I was getting air conditioning, I think. I don't know. Anyways, I think air conditioning or tires, one of the two, before our vacation, right? And I'm like, the old truck has power steering. It's not hard to get in and out of. Drop the kids off at daycare or summer school, summer care, and take it to work. It'll be easy. It's so reliable. I've put 1,500 miles on the turbo setup. It's easy to drive. She calls me. She's like, I broke it. I'm in the middle of the road. I'm like, what do you mean you broke it? You're in the middle of the road. And so, we were going to U-Pull it that day after we had dropped it. It was tires. My brother and I dropped it at the tire place. We were going to U-Pull it to get some parts for the cart, I think, looking for some stuff. And we pull up behind her and there's some dudes pushing it out of the street. We're like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. So she's like, I don't know. They tried to push it forward. It was locked. They backed it up and then it went forward fine. So it's like, okay, that's weird. So I get in it, start it, drive it all the way home. No issue. She's like, I don't understand. This is bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. And then we take the diff cover off and the plates I had welded in for the spider gears had come apart and one had wedged itself in the ring gear, ring and pinion right there. And it almost sheared an 1/8 piece of plate in half. So when they rolled it backwards, it dropped it out of the gear set and then I was able to drive it. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty awesome. She broke it really good. So she said she's never driving it again, but we'll get her back in the seat. I'll let her do burnouts in it. So
now you got it welded up good this time?
Yeah, we turned the Eastwood MIG as high as it would go. It goes to 10 and we put it on 11 and just heated it up and welded all the gears together and the gears to the case and all that kind of stuff. So
perfect.
Yeah, when it breaks this time, it's going to be ugly. So we're taking a trailer to the shootout with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you have any other projects other than Stanley and the Narx cart?
So my brother does. He has a 70 MG midget with a full tube chassis, 4-link rear. We had an 8.8 cut down for it. Disc brakes all the way around. Mustang 2 front, and it's powered by a 2.3 from like an SVO Mustang from the 80s. So that car should make 350 wheel and weigh. It's probably 2,000 pounds. So he's hoping to have it done and be able to road week with me for 2.0.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's so tiny, like 2 people in there, you're almost shoulder to shoulder. So it's pretty wild. It'll be a horrible week, but
I've seen the videos of it. It looks tiny.
Yeah. It's very, very small, but he's done a ton of work to it. I'm working on gathering a bunch of the videos over the last probably year since we've done any update videos for our YouTube channel. It's under Project Atom Ant, ATOM Ant. So
it's so small. It was in the bed of a pickup truck in one of the videos or pictures, right?
Yeah. My dad was going to LS swap a 300Z. And so we put that on the trailer and Steven still needed to get the MG home. So he put it in the bed of his long bed diesel Dodge truck. That was a 10-inch lift and on 40s. I mean, it wasn't just like in the bed of any pickup. It was like in a bed of a big pickup.
Nice.
Yep. He drove 6 hours with it like that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. The pictures he has of other people taking was pretty funny. So
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So what other kind of racing have you done? Have you done anything other than some of the drag and drive events and drag racing?
We've been to Hallett, which is a road course close. I haven't taken anything of my own over there. That's definitely a plan, is to build a road race car. But really, no, just, drag and drive stuff as far as like real automotive events. We took the old truck on power tour and things like that, 12 and 13. So it was good. It was fun. Yeah. It was, the first year, you'll find this funny because you've lived this life before, but, turbo 350 trans, 30 or 3,000 RPM B&M, stall converter, and a 390 gear and a short tire. Okay. The truck would break up real bad about 3,400 RPMs. Well, at 55, it was turning 3,100 RPMs because of the slip of the converter, right? It was the worst trip ever, because you had to keep it in it was like a 500 RPM window, and the truck absolutely hated it. So,
wow.
Yeah, we did that year, and then that was 12, and I think we just did 400 miles then, and then for 13 they were doing Texarkana, Little Rock, and Memphis, which is right here in Arkansas. And so after we got back, I was like, screw that turbo 350, I'm done with it. And we put a 700R in it, and it drove like that for a long time with a wore out 283 700R setup, and I drove it all over the place. So
nice.
Yeah.
So you do have your own drag and drive event that you host, right? For a charity?
Yep. So we 2013 we got involved with the Northwest Arkansas Children's Shelter. We were looking for me and Jonathan Stonecipher, he had hosted the event the first year in 12, and I was the shirt vendor for it then. And then in 13, he was building a car for Drag Week, and he said, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. I've got too much, I'm trying to build this car. It's right around the same time frame. Do you want to handle it? And so I said, yeah, if you're cool with me doing it for charity, I'd love to do it. And that was the first event we ever did, and it's been downhill since then. We've raised more than $40,000 for children's charities here in Northwest Arkansas. So, and Southern Missouri, we've done some stuff. So that's kind of what I'm known for anymore, is doing that event. And we have 120 to 140 cars show up and 500 people. So it's not like a crazy event. We raise 3,000 to 5,000 a year and have a ton of fun doing it. So
well, that's what it's about. It's raising money and having fun. So that's
cool. And yeah, there's a ton of people that event. After the first year, we really started going after racers, and we realized that we were losing a group of people that weren't like people that had never made passes down the track. They were just going to watch the really fast guys. So the next 2 or 3 years, we really tried to develop we call them fun runs because it's open, but we still have trophies. They're ET based, a lot like Race Week is. We still have trophies for that, but we have all kinds of trophies, Iron Man trophy, who can make the most passes, hairiest pass, which is the scariest pass people make during the day, things like that. So
very cool.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun. We've had a blast. This year will be the 9th year we've done it. And then for the 10th year, we're just going to go ham. My goal for 10 years is to raise 10,000. So
awesome. I hope you hit that. Maybe we can, get some promoting out there and get that going for you. That'd be cool.
Yep. So we do that, and then we do a drag and drive in April that it starts at Mocan, which is where the shootout is held. We race Friday night at Mocan, drive a 200 to 250 mile loop on Saturday, and race again Saturday night at Mocan. So kind of a race weekend, get the season kicked off, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know they did something similar around here where they did it was called like a race weekend or something like that.
Yep, Nathan Shaw runs that one. Good dude. And his Nova, if you're not friends with Nathan Shaw on Facebook, you need to be. That car is so nice. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah. Super dark green, like a dark magnesium wheel.
Yeah.
And fast as hell. That's the other part. It's super fast. So
you have other hobbies outside of just cars too, don't you?
Oh yeah. Yep. Mountain biking. I mountain bike a ton.
And you have a whole channel on that?
Yeah. So when you begin YouTubing, you're like, oh man, I like doing this. I'll YouTube that too. So, I think it lets the creative part of my brain come out. So it's Knobby Tires to Freedom is my mountain bike channel. And I'm definitely focused, Northwest Arkansas. Bentonville is becoming the mountain bike mecca because we can ride year round, and we have a ton of, good trails. Like, Colorado has great trails. Moab has great trails, but these are, developed. It's just awesome. We have a ton of money. The Walton Foundation is huge supporters of the mountain bike scene here in town. And so I ride probably 3 times a week, just right out of my office at work, change in the server room and jump on the bike and ride 6 or 8 miles 3 times a week. So
very cool. I know once you took a little break from your main YouTube channel, I think you started doing a little more with that one.
Yep. Because it's funny. as you know, and as anybody that probably is watching this knows, you get to pushing pretty hard on, especially like our channels. I mean, we're small, 70 to 100 videos on a real video. It isn't very much, considering what you look at other YouTubers and you're like, my stuff is as good as them and they're getting 10,000 views. It's a little hard. So I ran into the situation before Cletus and Cars Indy, where we were really, really, really pushing hard. And I was doing 2 or 3 videos a week and a live feed and, really upping my game for YouTube. And it just overwhelmed me, really is what happened. I got to where I was trying to do a video a day. And then I was like, no, I'll do 2 better videos a week. And so you end up like I get 2 nights a week in the shop. So I'm basically recording everything I do all the time. And that just got too much. So yeah. So I pulled away from the car stuff for 2 months. It was a great break. It's been really difficult for me to get back into it. I tell you, because I've got like 3 videos I need to edit right now for the car stuff. And it's just hard. It's hard to sit down for 3 hours at a time and edit and load and all that kind of stuff and write descriptions. I mean, that's one thing you never think about. Your title's got to be right. Oh, your description's got to be on point. Oh, you got to have tags. Oh, you got to do this. And she got to be too hard. So took a break and spent some time on the mountain bike stuff and edited 2 videos over there and then hadn't done anything with it since. So
yeah, it when I've edited a video, sometimes it'll take me an entire weekend because I really try to get it perfect. And you start getting these longer videos and you render it and then you watch it again and you're like, oh, I want to change that. And it's just like a never-ending process. But I don't know, hopefully one day that it'll pay off, and all the time I spent editing these videos, maybe it'll be worth it.
Yep. So we have a little over 560 videos on our YouTube channel. And it's funny because you can definitely see the time, like at video like 300, 320 is when I really started pushing hard, because that's when the quality went up. That's when I, bought better equipment. That's when I got a better microphone and started thinking more about the shots and all that kind of stuff. So it took me a little longer than it takes everybody else, but for a while it was just throw out content,
Yeah.
Put as much out there.
Yeah, we're only at 410 right now. But I think we've gotten 6 or 7 weeks now of actually posting 1 video every weekend. So, and I think that'll end up helping. We're just trying to get a little bit ahead because recording everything, and we're not working on stuff every single night. So trying to capture the stuff when we do. And sometimes you go out there and you're like, I'm just going to do this oil feed line real quick. And it's like, well, if you go get the camera, you set that up, you do all that quick job you're about to do just took a couple hours. And sometimes you're like, I don't want to record this.
Well, and what I've ran into lately is, we're installing stuff, and so there's so many how-to videos that are out there that it just, unless I'm going to do something fun, I'm like, I'm probably not going to record this. The cool thing about Steven going out on his own and having his own shop will be that, that will allow us to have a lot more content, and it'll be easier because he'll be making progress daily on whatever project he has in the shop for somebody. So that'll be nice. And, the first setup he's got another first gen C10s, a 65 trucks, bags, just get, it's been in body shop hell for 2 years. And so the guy's like, I just want to drive it. I just want to have fun. Fuck paintwork. I'm over it. Let's go. And so Steven's going to put it back together because the body shop guy doesn't work on it anymore. So with him doing that, you can set up a time lapse, and he doesn't necessarily want to do a lot of the, selfie stick. This is what I'm doing. So I just told him, I was like, man, take my GoPro 8, because like the earlier GoPros take pictures for the time lapse, and it's so difficult to edit through that because each frame you're having to manipulate, So I was like, just take my 8, put it on time warp and just work. And then we'll go back in and audio over it, whatever it is. And so you could do, thinking about that, my shop here will be what I'm working on. His shop there will be what he's working on. That at least gives us 2 videos a week that are the same, and then plus the business side of that too, which is where my podcast is going to pivot after I get back from race week, will be interviews with business owners and how you structure stuff. How do you figure out how to pay a social media guy? Why pay a social media guy? How do you manage the cash flow of a shop with 20 guys working in it? Like, do you bill every person every week? So
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll be looking
yeah.
forward to hearing that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've always been super business minded anyways. And the podcast, I think, will allow me to venture into that more. We've had like Ron Mowen of Vengeance Racing on before, and he was a great guest, but we really stayed 10,000 feet, and just let him kind of tell where he got where and why he got started and what they're working on. Now I want to go back to these guys and go 2.0 podcast and dig deep. So
yeah, that'll be very cool, because I've just kind of recently started getting into some stuff like that too. I designed the trim ring for the Fox Body bumper.
Yeah.
And I posted it on a couple Fox Body pages, just like, hey, here's my car.
Yep.
And had a couple people reach out and they're like, hey, where'd you get that? And I said, I made it. I came up with it. I designed it, CAD, sent it out and had it made. And now I've got at least a couple people that want me to make one. So I actually just put an order in for 5 of them.
That's awesome.
End of last week. So I'm going to get 5 of them. I'm going to see how they sell. And if they sell good, I'm going to take that profit, order 10, sell those 10, and what happens.
Yeah. And like, that's the stories that I want to tell, because there's guys that did exactly that. And now, well, like, I think his name's Mike Motion, Monkey Fab, all those guys. I mean, that's what they started with. It was something that worked, that they needed or used or wanted, and they made it. And then they're like, okay, now that we've got this, let's do it, and then you just grow from there. And so I think that side of the story is awesome, because it one gives people motivation to move towards that if they have that, want to. But then the other side of it is like, what happens at the next level? So like, you're overwhelmed, you're overworking yourself, you're busy trying to ship stuff, busy trying to order stuff, busy trying to handle incoming, all this, so like, at what point do you hire somebody? So I want to go through all that with business owners.
Yeah. And how do you even start with that? Like, I can have somebody pay me through PayPal and I can ship it, but what's the best way to go about really setting up a business like that?
Yep. That's kind of that's the thoughts I have, and that's what I want to find out. And then the other side too, like YouTubers, Mac TV, Mid-America Customs, I don't think they're far from you guys either.
I think they're in Indiana, if I remember right.
Indiana. Yep. Yeah. I was thinking Illinois, but that's right. Indiana. But like those guys, I mean, they're 3 dudes and a guy that records, so I mean, there's 4 people that run that entire thing. Now, I don't know, Zach is their videographer and editor and stuff. So I don't know if he's like on the payroll or if he earns his income from what YouTube does, so he's set to talk on the podcast in a couple of weeks, right before race week. So we can kind of get, cause he brought 5 GoPros to the scenario, so like all, what do you do? I mean, dude, that'd be $2,000 worth of stuff or I guess probably 1,500 worth just in GoPros, to be able to follow along with somebody. So how does that work? So I'm excited about what's coming after race week for the podcast for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll definitely be looking forward to that, because it sounds like good information that even I can probably learn something from.
Yeah. Yep. And, the other side, just thinking snowball in there, like those guys that already have shops, they buy from guys that have these parts, like, you're making the part, you're handling it, you ship them 10 a month, whatever, you know what I mean? Like then they're just handling the shipping for their customer. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of ways to earn income to buy car parts.
And that's really what I'm doing with this bumper trim. I tried to find somebody online that sold them. I couldn't find nothing. I took my tape measure and a piece of paper and notepad out to the garage. I drew it up and I got on my computer and designed it in AutoCAD. And then the same thing, that company, all I'm doing is providing them with my model, and they're actually doing the cutting and sending it to me. and it's
Yeah.
at such a good price that I can turn around and then sell it for somewhat of a profit myself.
Yep. Yep. And that's what happens. And then who knows, like, what would it be if you found, like, if you had an order of 100 and you find a different supplier, you know what I mean? So like, there's all that different, there's all those, and I want to dig into that. I want to find out how you grow that
Well,
and what it takes.
and then at some point, it's like, what does a laser cutter or a CNC
Yeah.
plasma cutter, what does one of those cost? So
Yep.
then you can just, now you're only in it for the material versus having another company cut it. So
Yeah.
if, that'd be the next step. If these sold really well, okay, how much is it going to cost for me to get a machine? And how
Yep.
quickly could I pay that off? And are people going to keep ordering these? Is it a product?
Yeah.
And then if it's good for the Fox body, what other guys want, this
Yeah.
bumper cut out for their cars, and
Yeah.
how do you go about designing that and just keep improving it?
Well, and what happens is the dude that orders one also has a GTO or also has a 4th gen Firebird or a 4th gen Camaro that he wants something different than just pulling the lower scoops out of like a SS bumper. They want, and so you end up, because that guy ordered that part, now you've got all these other parts, that now you can make, because that guy would probably go, hey man, I'm 2 hours from you. Can I come up and we figure something out together? And then you do it, and then your Motion Race works. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
And that's, literally, isn't that the American dream though, is to come up? It's just like that. It's, you just start little and
yep,
see what happens. So I'm kind of excited. I don't got my hopes too high, but it's get started, do something. The way I work is I always, how do you make money? How, we go to work every day, we buy car parts, but how do you get a little further ahead and a little further? And me personally, I like designing stuff. I like working on my own cars. I like making my own parts. So to be able to come up with something that maybe isn't out there already and sell it to other people, that seems like the perfect job.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And then, the other side of that too is like, look at how many people Motion employees. Like, I think he said in the latest video, they have 28 employees or something like that. That's,
that's not huge.
Doug Cook and his brother created something and now create lives for 26 other people, and so that's huge. So Doug's going to be on Race Week, and I have pestered him about being on the podcast. So I'm going to square him up in the corner somewhere and make him talk for 5 minutes to us. So
that'd be awesome.
Yep. So I'm excited. That's the other benefit to car guys too, because everybody in the car business loves cars. Like some of the dealership owners don't like cars. They just like the money. But like Motion Raceworks, Monkey Fab Parts, Sloppy Mechanics, all those guys, they're car guys that have car products, and that's how they make their living, Yeah. Because, how can you get there? And like, for me, I want to get there by letting people tell their story and doing it on YouTube and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So eventually.
And honestly, listening to your podcast is what really got me talking and thinking about actually bringing on guests. And I just kind of mentioned it on one of my posts on Instagram, and I had at least a couple people that are like, I'll come on and talk. And I think you've told me before, car people love to talk cars. So why not?
Well, and what's so funny is like, we could talk business stuff, me and you, for 3 hours and not mention a single car part. But the other side of me, I could talk cars for 3 hours. And, so like, you'll find it's interesting trying to write that balance of like, because at some point you'll find your rhythm. And I still haven't found mine. We just posted our 60th podcast, and so I'm getting there. I think the business stuff will help me figure out my track, but people love jumping on. People love talking about their stuff, and you always end up with cool stories.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is going to be episode number 4 for us, so we're
That's
still
awesome.
early.
Yeah.
But
yep.
It's just a matter of keeping it interesting and keeping the listeners engaged, and hopefully what we're talking about is what they want to hear.
Yep. The one benefit, no matter whatever you're doing, content is content. Content's got to be good content, whether it's horrible content or whatever. But as long as your audio's fine and people are talking, it's not a long silence, the people that want to listen are going to listen. So that's a huge plus.
Yep. All right.
You just got to grow that big one. Oh, shoot. We got to probably go.
Yeah, we're getting a couple minutes here. last questions here. Do you have any extremely or embarrassing car moments?
Yes. So there was I was 19 and there was this high school girls volleyball team doing a car wash. The water from the car wash was running across the road. I thought I would do this really cool rolling burnout as I come out of the water, ran right into the back of somebody. So that was a good one. It wasn't in a cool car, but it was like I was in a Frontier that had the supercharger on, like a 02 or 3, and I was like, whoa, and just boom. So it must have been a 2000. Yeah.
Nice.
So right into and it's 4 lanes of traffic. Everybody stopped. Everybody's looking. The car that I hit the car in front of it. I mean, it was this whole thing. Their coach comes over. Are you okay? I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. So everybody laughs. So that was a good one.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I'm going to do here is do a kind of rapid fire, no context, this or that.
Yep.
And then we'll kind of end off like that. So automatic or manual?
Auto. They win
Auto.
races.
Boost or nitrous?
Oh, boost, 100%. And a lot of it, like 20 plus.
Bracket racing or no prep?
No prep.
LS, Coyote, or Hemi?
Yes. All of it. I don't care what it is.
All right. You ready for the last one?
Yep.
Shaved or hairy?
Ooh. Hairy. Yes.
Got to throw that oddball question in there.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well,
you're talking about my back, right?
Whatever it is that you want it to be.
Yeah. All right, dude. Thanks, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Real quick, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you? What different social media platforms you are on?
Yep. So I'll spell it for them, but hopefully you'll put it down in the description as well too. But it's Narxoleptic Customs, Narxoleptic Customs. You can find us on. I'm probably most active on Instagram. We post there at least once or twice a day. TikTok. Sometimes if I've got something funny, TikTok won't let me post burnouts. So that's typically all I record is burnout stuff. And then Facebook, we run it more of like a business type page. You can find us over there too. And then obviously YouTube and podcast. All your favorite podcast sites we're on. So we're like I said, we're firing that thing back up. 1 a week is what I'm hoping for. So
awesome. I will post links to all of that stuff in the notes here.
Cool.
Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate having you. I'd like to get you back sometime after Rocky Mountain Race Week, talk a little bit about how that went and stories from that. I think that'll be fun.
Yes, 100%. And we'll be putting out a video every day. I'll be up till 3 a.m. again every night of race week, editing and dropping videos as I can. So cool, man.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, dude. Yep.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Mike from Narxoleptic Customs. I'm going to link as many of his social medias as I can in the show notes. So be sure to go check out his Instagram for a chance to win the Narx cart. Go like and subscribe to his YouTube channel, and also go check out his podcast as well. Don't forget, if you don't already like our other social media platforms, check us out, 815 LSx Swaps on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And then this podcast is also on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If there's any other guests that you'd like to see on the show or questions you would like to see us ask our guests, email us at 815lsxswaps@gmail.com. All right, guys, we will see you in the next episode.